Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Mikey Bustos bringing you another video. Just wanted to tell you a quick story about why I am terrified of turbulence. Now, I fly very frequently. This here was over like a year and a half. See all of these? They're all these plane tickets. They're all from like flying all over North America, the Caribbean, let's see, lots. Okay, so I guess that's like proof. I fly a lot. I'm a frequent flyer. Most of these were from touring, a few of them for vacation, right? Okay, so anyways, you get the point. I fly a lot. But no matter how often I fly, I'm terrified of turbulence. And here's why. One time, I went to a sugar glider convention in Arkansas. Don't ask. Anyways, that's another video. And I was flying back to Toronto. And so we reached Toronto. I'm like, yes, I'm almost home. And we're flying over the city of Toronto, and there's this huge, dark, like, ominous castle-like cloud kind of in front of us and underneath us. It's huge. So apparently there's a storm over Toronto, right? Oh wait, let's rewind first. Sorry. Getting on this plane was a mission. I like ran because I didn't know that I had to change airlines. So there was this whole thing about me getting luggage, finding my luggage, and then checking in again. And literally I was running. I went through so much trouble. Like, I was literally like 2-3 minutes late for my flight. And I'm running down this long hall in Milwaukee or something, right? And finally, I'm like, where's flight? Blah, 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 blah. And the lady's like, oh, there you are. And she talks on her walkie-talkie. And she points me down these stairs. And I literally had to, like, hop onto this little car to drive me to the plane so I could go into the plane. Because the plane had already, like, moved out and was about to fly without me. But it stopped. So, anyways, they put me up on this thing. I walked in. Everybody clapped. I sat right in the front. And I'm like, ah. What a mission to get on this plane. So anyways, back to a few hours later in Toronto. You know, I wake up from a nap and we're circling over Toronto. And the pilot was like, yeah, apparently there's a big storm in Toronto, and so we're just going to circle here and try to wait it out. Hopefully they'll open the runway, because apparently they had closed the runway. And so you know, I looked in my hand and I saw that, you know, there was a cookie. The stewardess was so nice, this like old elderly lady. She gave me a cookie while I was sleeping. So I'm like, oh, that's nice. So I'm like eating bits and pieces of this cookie while waiting. And 45 minutes goes by, and then the pilot comes on again saying, you know, they aren't opening the runway. We're possibly considering rerouting to Buffalo. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go to Buffalo. I just want to land. You know, so we circle and we circle, and finally, like an hour later, after an hour of circling, can you believe this? Over Toronto, the pilot comes on. He's like, attention, ladies and gentlemen, everybody fasten your seatbelts. We're going to try to land now. And I'm like, try to land? I mean, could you choose a better word than try to land? Like, we are landing now. So we're like starting to descend, right? And I see this dark cloud below us getting closer and closer. And then eventually it kind of like goes over our windows, and literally I'm looking at the window and it's going, and it's like a black sea. And it covers the window and it darkens the entire plane. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was this boom. Like literally, it felt like the plane took a nosedive. And I'm like, ah! You know what I mean? It's like the huge chunk of metal just went, and there was this loud noise. And then all of a sudden, we stabilized again. You know, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, oh my god, that's the worst turbulence I've ever felt. You know, I'm looking around, people screamed because we were like terrified. I look to the side, and beside me, like just right across the aisle, is a man who looks like he's flown many times before. So he puts on his his earbuds, and he's listening to music, and he's like, kind of like he's been through this before. So I'm like, okay, great. If he can be okay, I can be okay. So we go through another dark cloud, and then literally the same thing. It was like, and this time I heard this loud crack, like a, I'm like, ah! I literally screamed. I was terrified. Like, it's funny now, but I was scared. And I looked behind me. People were screaming, and this mother and daughter are holding hands like this, and they're like praying the rosary. And I'm like, what the hell? Oh my God. So, again, out of nowhere, we just start going, and I swear it felt like, like when you go over an edge in a roller coaster? Well, kind of like that, but like, imagine like shaking and being jarred around and like hearing metal cracking. And I'm here like looking out the window as much as I can, like watching religiously the wing engines, because I'm like, oh my God, how is the plane like really holding together through all of this? I'm trying to look. I'm like, the wing engine looks kind of. Is that a crack? Is that a loose rivet? I can't tell. I'm like, and then like another turbulence would hit, and I would check the wing to see if it was still there. After that, I look to the right. I'm like, okay, what's this guy doing? Is he still? And he's totally like holding on to his chair, going. So I'm like, ah! So I'm like praying, and all of a sudden I hear the PA come on. I'm like, oh my God, what is our pilot going to tell us? Like, are we going to die? I feel like we're gonna die. And people are crying, and like people are screaming because the plane is dark because of the clouds, and we're being like, just out of nowhere being jarred around. So the pilot goes, as you guys can see, we are experiencing some turbulence. Whoa! And we hit another turbulence, and he literally went, whoa! And I'm like, what do you mean, whoa? You're supposed to save us. We're all like depending on you. Like both hands on the wheel. What are you doing on the PA even? If we're like trying to get through intense turbulence. My God. So he's like, everyone keep seated, and we'll get through this. So I'm like terrified. We go through so many bouts of turbulence, and I'm like, okay, this is the turbulence spell that's going to kill us. I'm like expecting to die. I'm literally saying every prayer out of like in my mind, the prayer to Saint Michael, prayer to Saint Francis of Assisi, prayer guardian angel, the memorare, everything, like little, the most obscure Catholic prayers I'm spewing like from my memory. And as death was kissing me in the face throughout this whole crazy ordeal, like with my life flashing before my eyes, like did I live my full life that I wanted to, this and that? It just occurred to me that I was supposed to miss this flight. I think I even yelled it out loud. I'm like, I was supposed to miss this flight! And like literally, I stopped the plane so that I could walk up some stairs, be driven in a car, and walk up some stairs into the plane of my death. So finally, we get below the clouds, and things stabilize. And, it's all raining. And I'm like, oh, thank God that's over, oh my God. So we finally land. I let out a sigh of relief that, we've reached terra firma. I'm safe, I'm not dead, And I noticed that I'm still holding the cookie, and I like opened my hand, and the chocolate chips were all melted. I was clenching onto the cookie the whole time, and like my hand the heat from my body and my hand must have like cooked the chocolate chips. My friend was supposed to pick me up at the airport, and so we're parked there. We're not moving. Everyone's kind of like just chatting, after a pretty traumatic landing. And then my cell phone rings. I was allowed to turn it on, and I'm like, hello, and it's my mom. And my mom's like, Michael, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. What's up? And she's like, is your plane on fire? I'm like, what do you mean my plane on fire? Uh, no, it's not on fire. She's like, because it's on the news, there's a plane that caught on fire and it broke in half. I'm like, what? Really? And I'm like, looking around, and the stewardess is right in front of me. She was hearing my conversation. And she looks at me and goes like this. And I'm like, oh my god, she knows about it? There was an accident? I'm trying to look out the window looking for the accident. I'm looking back, and everyone's just kind of chatting as if nothing happened, like not knowing that there's a huge like plane crash that just happened in Toronto Pearson. And I'm looking back, and I'm like all nervous, and like I had to be quiet. I felt like Rose the Whitbecator in the Titanic. You know what I mean? Like she just learned the Titanic was sinking. That's what I felt like. Everyone's just chatting like normally. I get another call from my friend who's supposed to pick me up. He's like, "Where are you? Are you like, did you land? Blah blah blah." I'm like, "Yeah, we've landed." And then I hear him stand up, you know, on like some chair and announce to everybody. He's like, "My buddy Mikey is on plane flight. Blah blah blah. They're okay. They're landed, but they're not gonna board in a while." So, oh my god, you know, I'm like, that's crazy. A plane crashed. So finally, after like 2 hours of being parked there, like news had spread about the crash. I get out into the plane and finally into the airport, and honestly, news people were running everywhere. People were being interviewed. Like it was insane. Media was everywhere. Like confused passengers were like, you know, there was huge commotion. It felt like 9/11 almost. And you know, flights were delayed. Apparently, our flight was one of 5 that actually landed. The rest were diverted to other places. So it turns out it was Air France that crashed. Apparently things caught fire and the plane like cracked in half. I was stunned by the pictures. And I'm like, actually, I'm not surprised that it cracked in half because literally I don't know how we managed to survive that landing. The storm was really incredible. Like it just threw us around like ragdolls, you know. And imagine being in this huge chunk of metal being you know, like thinking you were gonna die. And thank God nobody was injured on that flight. Surprisingly, by some miracle, all passengers were alive. And so yeah, it was pretty a crazy day for me flying, and that's why like turbulence always freaks me out because you know it was just pretty traumatic. I thought I was going to die that day. Anyway. That's my story. Do you like flying? Does anything scare you? Leave a comment in the comment section and let us know. Thanks, guys. Bye.